issues, we'll wait until she reaches out to someone. So we'll get started. Good afternoon, YP members, and welcome to a virtual Leadership Edge on behalf of the Greater Columbus, Georgia Chamber of Commerce Young Professionals and the Skills Connection Group. Welcome. Ben MacMinn is today's guest speaker, and he is the director of Startup Columbus, an organization focused on cultivating a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem to support entrepreneurs and successful startups. Ben and his wife, Kelsey, have been in Columbus their entire lives and now have 2 children that they are excited about raising in the Columbus community. Ben serves on the board for the Columbus Ballet, House of Heroes, is the program chair for the Rotary Club of Columbus, and chairs Biz Pitch Columbus. He served as a judge for Columbus State University's Business Plan Competition, Inventors Shark Tank, and the Ledger Enquirer Page One Awards. Ben is a strategic leader with over 12 years of experience in the development of business and people. Ben will lead today's discussion, and I believe he has a guest that he will also introduce us to. So Ben, with that, I'll turn it over to you and welcome.
Thank you, Bree. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the introduction. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to get to share about Startup Columbus and the work that we're doing in these new pieces to Columbus that we have, and these new resources that we're trying to put in place, and kind of the future of what entrepreneurship can look like in Columbus as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for presentation. That will help me follow along. It's really for me more than anything, I think. All right. So again, thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity. One of the things about creating this ecosystem, as Bree was talking about, is it's not just people that are interested in entrepreneurship. It's really about everybody in the community buying into it and knowing about it, because while you may not be an entrepreneur yourself, you likely know someone that wants to start a business or has a side hustle or that is an entrepreneur that can benefit from some of these services. And as leaders and young leaders in our community, it's good to have this knowledge of what is there, so you can also offer that knowledge to them, pass them along, and now share with them what you know about Startup Columbus. So who are we? Bree gave us a little bit of introduction, but what she said is our mission. Startup Columbus is an organization focused on cultivating a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem to support entrepreneurs and successful startups. We do this because our community needs an ecosystem to support entrepreneurs. We need to develop more entrepreneurs, more businesses. We need to help people become self-employed. And we have a vision that business ownership should be a possibility for all residents in our region. And that's regardless of race, gender, social class. We believe that with the work we're doing, not only can we do this, but we can also become an entrepreneurial hub in the Southeast. And we think this is important for lots of different reasons. So with the why we're doing this and why we decided that now is a good time to start something like Startup Columbus. In 2015, a group of public, private, and nonprofit leaders came together to launch a comprehensive effort to raise levels of prosperity in Greater Columbus, and Columbus hired Market Street Services to perform a competitive assessment of our region. This competitive assessment became known as the Regional Prosperity Initiative. And in this study, we found that there were 5 different areas listed as key to meaningful and positive change. We were looking to grow Columbus to help it become more prosperous. And we found the 5 areas of cohesive image and identity, talented, educated people, targeting economic growth, vibrant, connected places, and enterprising culture. If these sound familiar to you, and they likely do, it's because it's the same 5 action areas that are now known as Columbus 2025. And Startup Columbus falls under the category of enterprising culture. So as you're aware, or may be aware, but Columbus would not be where it's at today without homegrown companies. We have several of them, such as Aflac and TSYS and Synovus and Delta Data, and just so many different businesses out there that are homegrown. And if our region wants to continue growing and continue moving forward, it must work to promote new companies and ideas that can generate new jobs and wealth in our community. So this comprehensive assessment, this regional prosperity initiative, found some startling facts about our community and entrepreneurship. The first one is that our region only held 4.8% of its jobs by self-employed workers, which this is almost 1.5% lower than the average in Georgia and almost 2% lower than the average nationally. Again, these are people that are calling themselves self-employed. They don't have another source of income. It's just their business. Also, when we compared ourselves to 9 other comparable metro areas, we ranked the lowest, so 10th out of 10 in employment in firms less than 5 years old. And what this means is we're not developing new businesses. And a lot of you are aware, we have some incredible businesses here that employ a lot of people, such as Tesis and Aflac, like I already mentioned. However, in the idea of entrepreneurship and developing new businesses, we need to have more people employed in these firms that are less than 5 years old, and create more firms that are less than 5 years old. Also, in the same study, in the same comparison, we found that we ranked the second lowest in small business loans. So 9th out of 10 offering business loans to small businesses. So in short, we have a lot of work to do. And the big picture here is not that we didn't have resources or we don't have resources for supporting entrepreneurship. And it's not that we don't have entrepreneurs, because we do. We have SCORE that has been in place in Columbus, as well as the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, at the CSU Cunningham Center. And we do have successful entrepreneurs that are starting new businesses, doing incredible things, growing, and even scaling and doing amazing work. But our biggest difficulty that found is we're not doing enough. When we look at the size of our city and our community and our region, we just did not have enough resources for programming, for mentorship, for networking events, focused solely on entrepreneurship. So a long story short is Startup Columbus was born to address these needs. So how do we do it, and how did we do it? So June of 2018, Startup Columbus opened its doors at 1006 Broadway. And thanks to a partnership with Columbus State University, Startup Columbus was able to utilize CSU space that is next to the bookstore to create a center for helping to foster homegrown businesses, provide resources, and help find financing. This was a small space. Some of you have been in it, may have seen it, but it's a space of about 600 to 1,000 square feet, where we had 2 offices and a lobby that people could come, and we could really provide a lot of consultation and some small intimate groups for cohorts and programming. So the initial program we offered was one that was developed by individuals within Startup Columbus, and it was a 12-week boot camp that concluded in focus on a heavy focus on a pitch competition at the end and getting investment and getting the funding needed to start your business. And while we had some early successes with this, what we found is not that we had an issue with the capital piece or the money, because we know that there is money here in Columbus. The bigger problem and the bigger realization that we had during this programming is that we didn't have the deal flow to support that. So while we had this hope of putting together venture capital funds or angel investor groups, we didn't have the deal flow, or we didn't have enough entrepreneurs ready to be presented to that fund or that group of investors. So we took that in mind, and we decided that in January of 2019, we needed to take a pivot on our approach. Instead of preparing entrepreneurs to be ready to get in front of an investor, we just needed to prepare entrepreneurs to run a business. We needed to teach people what an entrepreneurial ecosystem is, what it's like to develop a culture of starting your business, of taking a risk, getting out there, quitting your full-time Monday through Friday meat and beans job, and do it yourself. So how do you develop that culture? How do we prepare individuals to run a business? We decided that we wanted to start with people that had business ideas. And we found this program that's called Co-Starters. Co-Starters is a 9-week cohort-based program that equips aspiring entrepreneurs with the insights, relationships, and tools they need to turn their ideas into actions, as well as turn passions into thriving endeavors. There are several reasons that we like Co-Starters. But the first is that this group and this organization that's in Chattanooga, they have a desire to build communities. And they wanted to help develop communities in the same way of what we were wanting to do by creating this entrepreneurial ecosystem, develop culture. And they worked directly with our community leaders, and they trained our facilitators. They trained our community leaders of what this program is and what it could be. As well as constantly providing new resources to maintain the program, and they're updating their curriculum on a regular basis. And the second reason that we were attracted to Co-Starters, and one of the likely more appealing reasons for us, was the accessibility to the content. So the curriculum was written by a group of artists out of Chattanooga, and it was written at a grade school level. And the reason they did this, and the reason we like it so much, is because owning a business should not just be for somebody that has an MBA or a degree in business administration. It really is for anybody. It's for the high schooler that has a unique idea, or it's for the medical doctor that is not wanting to be a medical doctor anymore and wants to start his or her own venture. We've had both of those. We've had both of those people through this program. So we don't need to send them through a curriculum that has a lot of language focused on that. But it doesn't mean that the critical information is missing. The way Co-Starters has done it is they restructured what it looks like and how it reads. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Lean Canvas, but basically it's the one-page business plan that is the standard used across the board that is basically a way to deconstruct your idea into key assumptions. So Co-Starters has created their own canvas, but uses wording such as customer, message, and advantage, all of which I think are words we all can understand. We know what a customer is. We know what a message is for some part, and then we know what an advantage is. Instead of what the Lean Canvas uses and what some business words are, or unique value proposition, or channels, or customer segments. So it's different language, and it's reconstructed in a way that is more accessible to the broader group. So we launched Co-Starters program in May of 2019. And to date, we've run 4 cohorts and graduated approximately 40 individuals from our program. Unfortunately, this year, due to COVID, we've had some major postponements on that. We've only completed 1 cohort this year, and we are currently in the middle of a second cohort. And we'll be finishing the second cohort next week, but we've had some delays, of course, due to COVID. And we've had to pivot a lot of the way that operates because of the COVID policies we need to keep in place. We want to make sure that safety was a key priority, but it's still going. So one of the graduates that I want to spotlight, and that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, is Plant Hustle Vegan Bakery. And that is by Mandy, who I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so she can join as well. Mandy, are you there?
Unmute. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Mandy.
So Mandy is one of the people that went through our program and has gone through one of the earlier stages. And she's just been such a pleasure to work with, and it's been fun getting to, I remember her coming into my office, the old office, talking about where she's from, which I'll let her tell her history. There are so many vegan options, and here there's just not really any vegan options. And so basically from that, she's sparked this idea, created it, pivoted it, worked so hard, and she's doing some incredible things. So Mandy, I'll let you have the floor for a minute, and then I'll ask you some questions specifically about Co-Starters.
Okay. So hi, everybody. I'm Mandy. And as Ben said, I started Plant Hustle Vegan Bakery. And it's exactly what Ben said was I moved to Columbus about 2 years ago, coming from the UK. And it was really, I left my job over there and kind of, because my husband works for TSIS here, I was kind of just not really doing anything when I first got here. And I thought, well, started baking and things sort of, you know, about 8 years ago, vegan baking specifically. And then just sort of had this idea, because going around to restaurants and coffee shops here, I realized that there weren't any sort of vegan options at all. So we found it really difficult to eat out. So that's where the idea came from. And then I was put in touch with Ben at the Startup Columbus space. That was at the old one on Broadway. And then joined the program, and I've got my business plan still here that I still look at regularly. So my complete business plan. And yeah, it was just a really good course, just to kind of a really good program to take you from just having the idea in your head to then going through all the steps each week, and also just being in a group of people that also have their own ideas, but can really help you as well with your idea and kind of where to take it and put you in touch with other people. And it was really a kind of an organic process, really, that I met more people through co-starters and through Ben as well, who then allowed me to do things like pop-ups at there's a lady called Siyun who started a kombucha business, and she allowed me to do a pop-up at her store that she opened after going through co-starters herself. And then it kind of all just took off from there. So it was just a really good program just to get all your kind of ideas onto paper and discussing them with like-minded people. And then they just kind of give you the support and help you need to just take it from the idea stage through to an actual like business stage, which is something that I just never done before, but it was a great program.
So what would you say was the hardest part about the program?
I think it was just making that move to actually, you know, starting the baking and starting the actual thing, and then also just things like trying to find a logo and trying to find the right people. But again, it was all that happened through co-starters, because even the logo, I asked one of the previous somebody who had also gone through the program, Tori Storm, if she could design my logo for me, and she said she was too busy to do it, but she had somebody else that she could recommend. So she recommended somebody else, and then this other lady, Lauren Riddle, she designed my logo for me, and then she did a really great job with that. And that's why I also liked about it, was that it was local people putting you in touch with other local people that could do things for you. And she's a graduate of Columbus State University. She literally just graduated. I think I might have been her first job out of college. So so that was really good. And that's one of the things that's been really good, is that you get in touch with other people in Columbus who can kind of help you, and then you can also help them by kind of going on social media and kind of showcasing what they do as well. And so it's just a kind of mutual thing. So yeah, it's just been good in that sense of getting to know the community and helping each other.
Before you went through the program, what was your background on business in general, or starting a business? Like, did you ever think about doing that or start looking into what that would look like?
No, not at all. I mean, when I was in the UK, I had a completely different career. I was a psychologist, and I'd worked for the police over there for like 10 years, and then lived in Germany for a short while when my daughter was young. And then we got the chance to move over here with TSIS. And so I just kind of left my job as a psychologist. And then because I'd have to have different qualifications. I'd actually have to do a doctorate to be a psychologist over here. I thought, well, I don't know how long we're going to be over here, so I'll just kind of get into my, I just came up with this idea. I think it was last Christmas. And then when I came back here after visiting the UK at Christmas time, applied to do the co-starters course while I was in the UK, knowing that I'd be back in January, and then got on to the next cohort after that. So yeah, it was just kind of, had no business experience, and that's what I really liked, like you said, about it being written at the grade school level. It was just really simple, easy to follow. And not having any sort of business background, I kind of was able to just move forward with it just from all the information from the program.
Yeah. One of you've kind of mentioned several different benefits. What would you say is the most beneficial piece that you got from the Co-Starters program that you don't think you might have been able to get anywhere else?
I think it was probably the actual doing it, because I think a lot of people have ideas, but it's just actually how do you put that into action? And it was just through meeting yourself, Ben, and then the directors on the course, and then other people that I met. It gives you that momentum to kind of, people will ask you to, how do you feel about doing a pop-up shop at my place? And then obviously thinking, oh, okay, and that sounds like a good idea. I'll have to do all the baking for that. And then it just kind of gives you that push to really start off, which I think sometimes if you don't have something like this, you might not meet people and you might not get that momentum to really just get going with it.
Yeah. So how can people here support you if they wanted to? And by the way, she has some of the best vegan food I've ever eaten in my life. I'm a meat eater. Sorry for anybody that is not, but this food is so good. In all of her items, she brought me a muffin this morning. Sorry, everybody, but it's so good. So how can people find you, reach out to you, get connected with you, and eat some of your food?
So I'm on Instagram, and that was another thing. I wasn't on any sort of social media or anything, so I kind of had to learn that pretty quickly too, realizing that now that's the way you kind of, people get to know you, and you can kind of get to know other businesses and things. So if you look on Instagram and Facebook, and just, it's Plant Hustle Vegan Bakery, all one word, and then you'll see the logo, and I've got a menu up there. I've got photos of all my things that I bake. I make cakes from home now, and kind of, yeah. And then I do regular pop-up shops. I actually, there's a coffee shop downtown here called My Boulange, and then they approached me and asked me to do like a weekend pop-up with them. So now I deliver the things to them on Friday. They sell them over the weekend. And then the Food Mill, which is on 2nd Avenue, I actually approached them because I liked what they do in terms of helping the local community, and kind of, they've got like an organic farm and things like that, because that's one of the things that I do, is I use organic ingredients, non-GMO ingredients, and now excuse me, and now I actually do a weekly pop-up with them to deliver things to them on a Monday, so people can head to the Food Mill on Mondays or My Boulange over the weekend and pick up some of my things from there now, as well as sort of, I take orders online from home too.
And isn't there an event this weekend that you're going to be a part of as well?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's the Trade Centre here in Columbus, and they've got this local mini market, which is it's to do with the Southern Junkin show, and I think there's going to be like 100 vendors there. It's $5 a ticket, and I'll be, because I applied quite a long time ago, I'm actually right in the south entrance when you first come in, so I'll be there as well. And actually, you just reminded me that the Columbus Ledger Inquirer got in touch with me this morning as well, saying they wanted to do an interview. So it's all kind of just snowballing really, and yeah, there's lots of things in the pipeline. So yeah, if you want to head down to the Trade Centre on Saturday, I think it's 10 till 7. It's the whole event, and there'll be lots of local vendors and local people in the community there as well, kind of showcasing what they do.
Yeah, and shameless plug for the show this weekend. We have 3 Co-Stars graduates and 2 Co-Starters participants that are graduating next week. They're going to be a part of that show. So 5 people like Mandy that are going to be a part of this. So it's really exciting. So if you all are comfortable and wanting to get out and get some cool local stuff, this show is going to be incredible for you all to attend. Anything else you want to add or input that maybe I didn't ask you about?
No, when you asked me to do this Zoom call, and I was having to think about things, I just, in my mind, I sort of thought, well, actually, Columbus is quite a unique place, I think, because you can get vegan food and like vegan coffee shops and things in like Atlanta and like lots of big cities, and probably lots of other places around the US, and obviously in the UK as well. But I think maybe it was just kind of being in the right place at the right time as well, that there wasn't anything like that here. That's kind of how it kind of evolved. And I didn't realize there's like a Vegans of Columbus Facebook group that has like 400 members that I just didn't know. So I think people want the food, but they just can't kind of get their hands on it. But yeah, Columbus I think is unique because it's a very kind of supportive community, and that's what I've really found, is that people will really kind of they'll advertise for you on their social media, and then obviously you do the same for them, and you know, like you meet people who are like really interested in what you do, and then they tell other people, and it's just, I don't know, the whole feeling of being in Columbus is it's just a very unique place, and the community is just really supportive, which really I think is good, because it helps people like myself who've got ideas that want to do things, and it just gives you kind of a whole sort of community support behind you really to get things done.
Thank you, Mandy. Well, I appreciate your time and talking about how this program's helped you out in CoStar specifically. And I will try and include your contact information if we can get that to anybody that's interested. Of course, my contact information will be shared as well, so we'll make sure to do that. But thank you for joining, Mandy. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben.
And I'm going to share my screen again, I hope, and go back to the slide I was on. So one of the things that Mandy said that I think is so important for people to know is Columbus is super unique. And one of the reasons for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial sake is we are probably 10 years behind on so many things. And I think you all may be aware of that already. But because we're so far behind on so many of these things, that means there's a lot of opportunities. If you go to almost any city that's our size or metro area that's our size, there's going to be vegan options. But for whatever reason, we just are behind on having that here. So Mandy's been able to start this up and has had a lot of organic growth and becoming successful and giving some opportunity or giving back to the community what we need. There's so many different options like that. If you look at Multitude and you look at the co-working space that's on Front Avenue, it's just, we're behind, but that offers and lends opportunities to the entrepreneurs who want to do something here. So as Startup Columbus continued to develop our offerings and our programs, we started growing our network. We decided that we needed to find a digital platform that can make our products more marketable, as well as something that can manage a lot of our operational aspects of Startup Columbus. And we found an app that's called Startup Space, and I put a QR code that's actually an active QR code. If you all want to scan that QR code and download the app, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to stop you. But basically, this is an app that connects entrepreneurs and individuals with the resources in our community that are here to help with entrepreneurship and small businesses. If you're an entrepreneur or someone starting a business and don't have a lot of money and you're trying to find an accounting firm and you Google accounting firm for startups, what you're going to find is the big accounting firms that can pay for the ads or that have the best SEOs or search engine optimizations or paid services in general. And likely it's not ones that a startup company can afford. So this app, Startup Space, it's a good way to connect the entrepreneurs to those resources, because I manage all of the resources that are displayed, or Startup Columbus manages all the resources that are displayed there. So we know that it's specifically accountants or attorneys or marketing firms that have told us, hey, I want to help entrepreneurs. I want to provide free consultation service. I want to help them get from nothing to something. And so that was the main reason that we decided to invest in this app for our community, and that we have a hub. A few other reasons is there's some co-working management in there, some cohort management that is really good for our incubator space, which I'm about to tell you a little bit about, where people can reserve space like this room that I'm in, or they can book an event for a certain time frame. There's just lots of different features to this, including a CRM, business advising for when we're talking to people, which a lot of that is the back end for Startup Columbus, but it's a good entrepreneurial facing app as well, and something that we invested in as well. So I mentioned the business incubator. And this is the largest undertaking that we've accomplished so far. The way the Regional Prosperity Initiative, again, that's that assessment we did back in 2015. They said that what we needed to do was create a physical, flexible, and professionally staffed center of gravity for entrepreneurial activities in a highly visible location. So we knew when we moved into the space on Broadway by the bookstore that this was not the end location, but it was a good median and in a good space for the time being. So we moved into this space, and this space has become known as the Startup Columbus Incubator. But one of the questions I get asked a lot is, what is a business incubator? And the clearest definition I have found was a business incubator is a company, and the company is Startup Columbus, that helps new and startup companies to develop by providing services such as management training or office space. In the National Business Incubation Association, it says that business incubators is one of the key catalysts and key tools for regional and national economic development. So one of the reasons that a lot of people in Columbus have not heard of business incubator is because we only have one center that has been developed in the mindset of an incubator, and that's the Cunningham Center. And while it is still considered business incubator, it's a little different than what business incubators these days look like, where it's connection of space and resources. So with our partnership with CSU, they actually provided 5,000 square feet in the basement of the old Ledger Enquirer building for us to renovate and utilize as an incubator. And over the past 2 years, Startup Columbus has raised the funds through different grants and private funding to fully build out the space. And we have done so. It's fully built out. It's fully equipped, fully furnished. We have about 5,000 square feet, high-speed internet, top-of-the-line technology, this streaming booth that I'm able to be sitting in right now. And we, of course, have shareable amenities, too, such as a conference room and a common area and event space. So one of the things you may have noticed, some of these pictures are of the incubator. But I am going to give you a tour, a virtual tour of the space right now. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to move over to one of my phone and walk around the space. If it gets cut out, it shouldn't because we have internet in here. But let me stop sharing real quick. I'll leave the room and I'll be right back. Can you hear me? I hope so. I hear me in the background, so that must be Mandy. The first room I want to show you is a streaming booth. So this is where I'm sitting. We actually have a microphone, a streaming light, camera in here. It's fully, we got sound paneling all in here, as well as a green screen, which has made this just a space that we really want to use for two reasons. One, this was designed as a phone booth originally in the designs, but we decided in March after COVID pandemic hit that people are on Zoom all the time. And so we needed to offer a resource where people could come Zoom in the space and have an area where they could be alone and still be on a conference call. As well as entrepreneurship, a heavy trend right now is streaming entrepreneurship. So people want to be creating podcasts, vlogging, creating video content. And we wanted to have a way that people could do this. So we built this booth for entrepreneurs that are in the streaming industry so they can come in here and create that content. Right here, I'm kind of walking backwards, if you will, but right here, this is our conference room. This is a shareable amenity that everybody can reserve at whatever time. We've got a conference table. Of course, we're limiting the size right now because of COVID. We are going to have a large screen TV on that wall right there. And we've got a whiteboard, and we're going to have some other things in here. This space is not fully finished, of course, but this is a shareable amenity if people have meetings that they want to have that's more private. This is the main space. This is the picture that was just up. And this is where people are going to be able to work out of. That's a flexible seating. It's going to be similar to a co-working space where people will come in and sit wherever they'd like. Right now it's set up in a conference table style, a socially distanced conference table style, if you will. And this is how we've been running our Co-Starters program, where it's spread out like this and in a big square. And that's the one thing that I really like about this space is the flexibility of it. These chairs or these tables are all on wheels so they can push out of the way. And we could set up this large space for anything we need, whether it's a presentation. We have a projector that's right up here that will project on a drop-down 100-inch screen right here. Or if it's just a lunch and learn that we need to set it up in the future, of course, for an event like this or Leadership Edge, where we have people in an audience seated out here, we have the ability to do that. We also have, if someone needs more permanent seating, we have this type of seating as well, where people can come in here, they can put their stuff. I'll show you an example of one person, and I'll tell you a little bit about the programming piece of it. So we actually have one person that's started or has their business right here. So I won't give you the details of that, but that is what this space is used for. If they want to keep stuff here, be more permanent, it's not as flexible. And then we have these spaces as well. Let's say you have more than one employee and you need to spread out and have some information shared amongst that space, you can as well. The entrance is right here. When people enter the building, again, I said I'm doing this different. We have our front desk right here. Right now, we don't have a receptionist or another employee. So we actually will have we do have a digital welcome screen right here that they sign in and they say who they're meeting here with. And this is actually powered through the app I was telling you about. And it'll actually send me a text message for, say, someone that's here meeting with me. Then this is our waiting area, which you've already talked to Mandy. Hi, Mandy. She's in our space as well. But this is the waiting area and actually doubles as a workstation because this TV is also a computer. So we have this area right here that's also has refreshments and drinks as well. So you'll see that we had these private offices that are stationed about. These private offices are going to be two different things. One is they're going to be service provider offices. So the idea here is that if you are a service provider, say an accountant or an attorney or a marketing firm or whatever it may be, and you want to come maybe try and get some more customers in Uptown versus maybe you're stationed up in North Columbus, we are going to offer these desks for a couple hours a week for free with the mindset and the idea that they need to provide free consultation for the people that are in our incubator space. This partnership or having this feature has actually created a partnership that we've had with SCORE. SCORE is a mentorship group of the Small Business Association and one of the largest free mentoring groups in the United States. And our local chapter has agreed to move in with us. And so they are actually moving into this office permanently. So the SCORE mentors, and I think there's about 14 of them, will always be in here providing free mentorship to the people within our program. I think that's everything in the space. So I'm going to walk back to our, and then we also have, we have people that are in the space as well. This is Kermit. He is one of the people in our pilot program that I will be telling you about here in a second. He is a business that is being incubated, if you will, and I didn't even realize he was here. So sorry about that, Kermit. I'm going to pause this and go back to the other screen. Can you hear me now that I'm back on this screen? Let me share the presentation again. All right, so I've told you all about the incubator. I've shown you the physical space. Now, what is the actual programming that goes along with it? Sorry, I got to get myself caught up where I'm at. The Startup Columbus Incubator Program is a programmatic piece that ties to it. It's an 18-month-long program that's designed to help startup businesses grow and succeed in the greater Columbus region. And this would be the next step in, if you think of the lifestyle of a startup or the timeline of a startup, this is the next step after Co-Starters program. Where Co-Starters is taking an idea and creating a business, the incubator program is taking a business and launching it. So whether that's making the first sale or getting to the business license or whatever it may be, it's the next step. So we do this by providing free workspace, which I just showed you, mentorship that's going to be within the space, which I was talking about, programming, as well as networking opportunities. The programming network opportunities, this will come more post-COVID, if that's a thing, back to when some type of norm is created in our community. And so that is when that piece is going to happen. So some of the benefits of an incubator program, and specifically Startup Columbus, is it's a free workspace. There's no cost to it. So it's going to reduce the overhead costs for startup companies. It's a structured environment. So we're going to have professionals in here that are going to help keep these startups focused. We will have free development programs. So we will have lunch and learns, and we will have events like this focused on maybe it is the customer acquisition or talking about different types of entrepreneurship. It's also a network of like-minded entrepreneurs, which when you're collaborating with people that are doing the same thing as you, that are learning how to run a business, that are failing over and over and having to figure out how to pivot and create unique ideas, having that network of people that you're literally sitting beside is so, so important. As well as direct access to the business benefits such as services, mentorship, expertise, and sometimes capital, which is going to be a future piece of Startup Columbus. To join the incubator program, a startup must apply, be accepted, meet the criteria, and also follow a schedule of benchmarks set by Startup Columbus. So the length of a startup company must commit to the space. They have to commit at least 6 months to be in here. And the maximum amount of time they have to be in here is 18 months. And the reason for that is while 5,000 square feet is an incredible amount of space, it is not a limitless amount of space. So if we constantly are offering free workspace forever for everybody, they will take advantage of it. So we need to make sure that we are bringing people in, setting them up for success, and then putting them back out into the community and spending those dollars on co-working space, office space, storefronts, whatever it may be. So the pilot program that I was mentioning beforehand, this is the program we were hoping that we were going to launch this in May. We completed construction in May, and our plan was to launch the program and a robust marketing plan to have the incubator fully functional. And our goal was to have 25 businesses incubated by the end of 2020. That was a lot to say, apparently. But 2020 happened. So we did not keep with those goals. But what we've decided to do is launch a pilot program. And as of last week, we began incubating 5 businesses, one of which you just met was Kermit. And we've implemented some stringent COVID policies, including masks, social distancing, temperature checks, what to do if you're not feeling well, how you report it, getting COVID tests if you need, etc. And while none of these policies are easy, and not launching a full program that we've been working on for over 2 years is not easy, safety is the most important thing, and keeping a safe environment and keeping people safe in here is one of the most important things for us. So the plan for this program was not to market it at all. It was just to let 5 businesses organically come and talk to us and say, hey, I could use this space. Incredibly, we filled up the pilot program within 5 days of deciding that we wanted to launch it. And these different businesses include tech company, a creative company focused on social impact, and medical research company as well for that pilot program. I'm going to skip one slide. That's just talking about the future for time's sake. But I wanted to mention that building an entrepreneurial ecosystem, it's no easy task. It requires significant amount of time, effort, resources, and we're just starting. We are in the very early onset of it. 2015 was only 5 years ago. We've been here for hundreds of years. But communities around the country are taking the steps to promote startups and focused innovation. And we are doing the same thing as well. But as with the opportunities I was talking about with things such as a vegan bakery or craft beer or a brewery, we were behind on that. We're behind on this too. So we have to take these first steps, and that's creating this ecosystem, developing a culture. And we hope that Startup Columbus can be the catalyst forward into dozens of new and unique resources for entrepreneurship and innovation. We cannot and do not want to be the only resource for entrepreneurship. We need more mentorship groups. We need maker spaces. We need venture capital funds and angel investor groups. We need entrepreneurship in the academics, in grade school and beyond. And the list of needs for entrepreneurship is vast and large. We just hope to be the beginning and to shine a light on those needs and to show for growth. So I am happy to answer any questions. If we have some time after the questions, I can definitely talk about the future of startup. I just didn't want to run into the question time. So thank you for having me again. I appreciate you allowing me to share about what we're doing, some of the things that have happened, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hi, Ben. It's Leanne. I just wanted to say thank you so much for this presentation. It was so helpful to see what you guys are doing and how you are accomplishing such great things, even in the midst of the pandemic. So you guys are doing an amazing job. So I know you weren't going to talk about the future, but as someone, I work, for Teen Advisors as a development director, which is a local nonprofit, but I'm also small business owner here in Columbus with Sarone's Pizza, and so that's a restaurant. And but we've had some great ideas, and so I'm really interested in the angel investors that you were talking about and getting that capital, because I know one thing that we've run into is, like, even if you get a small business loan, they want it paid back within 3 to 5 years. And there's no guarantee that you would make the income per se that it would take to pay such a loan back in such a short time. So what do you envision as the angel investors groups, and what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the angel investor group, again, that was kind of an early focus, is how do we get that? And it's still something that needs to be a focus. The way angel investor groups is they are investing to get a return on their investment and get a good return on their investment. But the problem with that, if you look at the statistics of entrepreneurship, there's so many failures over the successes. And so let's say it's 1 in 38, and I'm saying that because it's something that rings a bell. 1 in 38 invested companies prove a return. That means I need to have 38 companies to present to an angel investor group. Right now, we don't have that. And that's 1 of 38 potential successful, scalable businesses. And we need to create the atmosphere for doing that. That doesn't mean it's not a part of the future. It may be. So as I mentioned, we are a part of Columbus 2025 in the action area of enterprising culture. So that is something that is likely to continue the development under the enterprising culture action area and not specifically through Startup Columbus. However, we do have some programming that we are planning to put in place. And since you asked about it, I'll go ahead and share that slide to talk about what that future is of what we are foreseeing. So if you imagine our customers in a funnel, and that's kind of a weird way to look at it, but if you imagine the customers of Startup Columbus in a funnel, Co-Starters is really accessible to everybody. You have to have an idea. That's it. Now, there's a couple other stipulations of you have to share your idea, but really you just have to have an idea, and you're able to go through the Co-Starters program, learn about how to develop a business plan, everything. It's really accessible to everybody. The incubator, where we're at right now, that's kind of the next step. You have to be a little more refined, a little more developed. There's going to be less people that go through that. And you have to be willing to sell, get a business plan, all of these things. So there's less people in that stage, but it's still the next step for us. And of course, between all these stages, we have lots of different things that we offer. But the third phase, and what we're looking at for the future, is an accelerator program, where what this is it's a opportunity to fund businesses that have a lot of opportunity, that are potentially scalable, that have products or software or whatever it may be, go through a very rigorous program. Whereas the incubator program, you have to be in the space 10 hours a week. This accelerator program, you have to be in here 40 hours a week working on this business. That means you also don't have another job, because that is your full-time job. That's the minimum amount of hours you have to be in the space. You're going through a rigorous program. What was that?
I was gonna say, so if you don't have, if that is a 40-hour-a-week thing, what do they do for supplemental income?
So the great question. We will be funding those businesses up front. So the plan is to fund these business at the very front end with potentially $10,000 to $15,000. They're going to be here for 14 weeks. So the hope is $10,000 to $15,000 can give you a little bit of food, give you a little bit of place to stay, and potentially put a little bit into your business, not a lot into your business, but at least you have food and shelter. And this is what I was talking about. I think we could be the hub for entrepreneurship in the Southeast. If we're funding these businesses, we can draw and attract a lot of talent from all over the country, specifically the Southeast, by saying, hey, come live in Columbus for 14 weeks. We'll give you this money. And then we are going to have a pitch competition at the end, which there's no guaranteed investment. But if they've put the time in, the effort, they've been working one-on-one with these mentors that are also potential investors, there's likely going to be an investment at the end of it. So that's the next stage. While it's not directly an angel investor group, we think it's going to be the next step to get these angel investors and to get these venture capitalists and these people with money saying, hey, there's a lot of opportunity in Columbus, and there's a lot of ways that we can invest in company and make money. And we think it's going to be the next step in growing and developing that capital piece, because access to capital is what everybody asks for, needs, wants, and desires. And so we are not ignoring it. We just are making sure that we set up the foundation to prepare us for that.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Ben, would you mind sharing a couple of the successful startups that have come out of the program?
Absolutely. So Mandy, probably the most successful, right? But we've got three of them, three others that I think of. One of them, Mandy mentioned already, Sayun with Bijou Craft Kombucha. Sayun and her husband moved here to Fort Benning for military. He was stationed here, and she has. They were the same way. They're like, we're in Columbus and there's no kombucha anywhere, and I love kombucha. How do I get started? And they just started. So they've grown, they've developed, they've opened up a storefront. They've become to the point where they can hire an employee and doing some incredible things. We've got Scott Sullivan with Bridge Pass CFO Solutions that's gone through our program, that he's opened up his own firm here in Columbus. And he had done that prior, but we hope to be a catalyst when he was going through the program of connections, of networking, of getting him refined on some of the ideas and talking to people that were helpful for him. And he's also a big supporter of other entrepreneurs that are going through the program and have supported them in lots of different ways. And then probably the most well-known is Slumber Pod. Slumber Pod is the privacy tent for babies that goes over your baby crib or your pack and play if you're traveling. They actually made it onto Shark Tank, the ABC's Shark Tank, and landed a $400,000 deal with Barbara. But they went through some of our earlier programming as well, and they launched their business digitally through Startup Columbus office on Broadway. Great question. Thank you.
Ben, if you could share, what are some pre-qualifications for the co-starter program?
Yeah, so 3 qualifications. You have to have an idea. You have to be willing to share that idea. So we don't allow NDAs in that program. If you're in here for other reasons, we can do NDAs, that's fine. But for co-starters, no NDAs, because we're signing a new NDA every week for 9 weeks, and there's 10 participants. So you have to be willing to share openly about it. Also, nobody in here is trying to steal your ideas. And then the third is you have to be willing to mold and make it. Mandy showed you her co-starters canvas. If you notice, it has sticky notes on there. The reason, yeah, she's showing it there. The reason we tell them to put sticky notes on there is because it's going to change. It needs to change. Your idea at week 1 should not be your idea at week 9. So those are the 3 requirements for co-starters programming.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Ben, we don't have any more questions, so I will let you wrap it up for us, sir, with anything you have to say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for having me. Bree and Kayla, thank you for reaching out to me about this. I'm always excited to share about the things that we're doing. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't really gone to market, if you will, in a large scale, because we're trying to be safe in this environment. I see a question just popped up, and I'll answer that in a second. But one of the things that I really would stress, you guys, and I said at the beginning, is if you know entrepreneurs, if you are an entrepreneur, if you hear of somebody, the goal of this, or what we would like, is for you to pass along the information of Startup Columbus. I am not just going to hoard all the individual entrepreneurs in the town. I pass along so many entrepreneurs to resources that will better serve them. SBDC has a set of skills that I do not have. SCORE has a set of skills that we do not have. I want to facilitate people to the right resource they need. And so please pass any information along. And one question is that essentially it's the goal to have people stay in Columbus. While that is great to have people in Columbus, entrepreneurship is a little different. You become an entrepreneur and a business owner because you want to be your own business owner. You don't want people to tell you what to do, where to go, where to stay. You are going to do whatever it takes and be wherever you need to be successful. So that means you may not be in Columbus, Georgia to be a successful entrepreneur. But what we would like to say is, let's say the next Jackson Kayak starts here on the river. They create these kayaks and they move somewhere else. We're hoping that they go wherever they're going to go and say, I started at Startup Columbus, point back to them. We also, with this accelerator program, if people come down here for 14 weeks, we'd like to say that we have enough cool things going on that people will be like, oh, this is a cool place to stay. There's, low costs on certain things, and there's a lot of activity and a lot of young professionals here. So we hope that they would stay, but we're not going to force them to stay. And we are not setting that as a goal either, per se, because entrepreneurship is just a little bit different. Thank you for the question, SW.
Well, thank you again, Ben, for coming and speaking to the group. Like you said, we all know somebody who has a side hustle or who is looking to grow their business. So thank you so much for the information. And I remember meeting Ben when he first stepped into this director role, and just to see the growth of the program under his leadership, it is very amazing what you're doing for everyone here in Columbus and the startup.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all having me.
Thank you.
So much.
And Kayla, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, thank you all for attending.
All right.
Have a
Thank you,
good day.
everyone. We hope to see you soon. Bye.
Thanks.